British director Christopher Nolan has masterfully transformed his storytelling talent into a series of Hollywood blockbusters. His latest smash, Oppenheimer, fueled by Cillian Murphy's explosive depiction of the title character, has thrust him further into the spotlight and is up for 13 Oscars on Sunday. But, in a curious twist of fate, Oppenheimer, the name of the man responsible for the world's first atom bomb, is entangled in a sinister narrative that will not be making its way into Nolan's cinematic repertoire. This is because the filmmaker's older brother Matthew is accused of being a real-life hired killer who used the name to lure a man to his death. The remarkable story of Matthew Nolan features court allegations that he was central to the contract killing of American accountant Robert Cohen in Costa Rica. The Mirror learned this week the case is still open, and the FBI has made a fresh plea for witnesses. Alicia Cohen, 54, the daughter of the murdered man, has waged a long battle for justice and is incensed by the film's title. She says, of all the names he could pick, he picked that one. It is insensitive, among other things. I first saw the title when they started advertising the movie. I was furious, and it felt like he was making a mockery of what had happened. Of course, there could be nothing to it. But in my head, I don't think so. Oppenheimer has swept all before it at the Grammys and BAFTAs. But Ms. Cohen will not be watching to see if it repeats its success on Sunday, 19 years to today since a fisherman pulled her father's badly beaten body from the water onto the banks of Costa Rica's Chirripó River. What the film's title shares with Christopher Nolan's older brother is a story that, at times, seems barely believable and drawn from a novel's pages. Matthew, 54, was the first of 3 Nolan brothers. With brothers Christopher, 53, and his scriptwriter, Jonathan, 47, they were all sent to £45,000 a year Haileybury School near Hartford, Herts, whose alumni includes former Prime Minister Clement Attlee. Born to British advertising executive Brendan and American flight attendant Christina, the siblings enjoy dual citizenship and a privileged upbringing, but the parallels end there. Jonathan and Christopher turned their obsession with film into cinema gold, particularly with their 2008 Batman reboot, The Dark Knight, starring Christian Bale. By contrast, Matthew became a property developer in Chicago and, in 1999, married a lifestyle blogger called Erica. They have 2 sons. Her social media profile depicts a dream lifestyle of sun-kissed beach holidays that hints at the couple's considerable wealth. But beneath the glamorous lifestyle, the couple have experienced financial problems, with Erica filing for bankruptcy in 2009. That same year, the U.S. District Court in Northern Illinois heard far more sinister allegations in relation to Erica's husband when the Costa Rican government filed a request to extradite Matthew. It was alleged he was a hired killer who had worked for diamond dealer Bob Bresca to recover funds from accountant Robert Cohen in 2005. Cohen's business partner Mario Quintana was accused of taking £5.5 million of Florida-based Bresca's money before committing suicide in October 2004. The jeweler held Cohen responsible for the money. According to court papers, Bresca was a convicted drug dealer. Cohen, the court heard, said at the time, "Bresca is capable of putting my life in danger. If anything were to happen to me, Mr. Bresca would be responsible." The court heard the diamond dealer brought Nolan in to recover the lost money and introduced him to Cohen. The district court was told that Nolan was calling himself Matthew McCall Oppenheimer to fool Cohen into thinking he was one of the fabulously wealthy Oppenheimer diamond family. The court papers read, Breska told Cohen this man was a multimillionaire and a member of a family that was dedicated to the jewelry business. In reality, the court was told, Nolan's real calling was as a hired killer, and in March 2005 witnesses saw Nolan and Cohen meeting in Costa Rica. Nolan is also said to have met hotel bellboy Luis Alonso Douglas Mejia, who would eventually be convicted of Cohen's kidnap and murder. Mejia and Nolan then allegedly forced Cohen into a hire car on March 6. Local investigators claimed the pair had continued to torture the victim, which caused a massive hemorrhage and resulted in death, the court heard. FBI agents were called to locate Nolan and trace his movements. They would discover he had flown out of Costa Rica on the 6th, heading to Houston in the U.S., then Paris, New York, and Miami, allegedly using a fake Paris address and his father's mobile number for his contact details, the court was told. Nolan, last person seen with Cohen, was back in Costa Rica days later and joined Mejia, it is claimed. 4 years later, Nolan was caught by FBI agent Pablo Araya when he turned up the 2009 bankruptcy proceedings. At his extradition hearing, Judge Michael Mason said, there is competent evidence that Nolan continued in his efforts to locate Breska's assets following Cohen's death. But the justice refused to extradite Nolan on kidnapping and murder charges, ruling that Costa Rica had not submitted sufficient evidence he was a person who kills. Araya said, Matthew Nolan was the most arrogant person I have talked to. I do not know how he paid for his defense. He said, he was going through bankruptcy. Someone paid for his high-powered attorney. In a strange twist, the court did approve Nolan's extradition on false passport charges. Still, the Costa Rican authorities abandoned their request, and Nolan was released in 2010. By that point, the story had taken another extraordinary turn because Nolan had pleaded guilty to preparing to escape from the Chicago jail he was held in during the extradition proceedings. As he was being detained in the U.S., he was held federal jail in Chicago. In March 2010, he was discovered planning his breakout from the Metropolitan Correctional Center, a prison notoriously difficult to escape from. According to the authorities, a search of Nolan's cell discovered 31 feet of improvised rope, which had been braided together from bedding, a makeshift harness, and a metal clip of a pen cap, which Nolan manipulated to make a handcuff key. He also had a razor blade hidden in a bar of soap. Local newspapers called it a Batman-like escape attempt. Nolan was sentenced to 14 months for possessing a prohibited object and for obstruction of justice. Where the money went and the full details of what happened to Cohen are answers probably buried with the accountant. Still, for daughter Alicia the pain remains. She claims that Cohen went off the rails following the suicide of her 18-year-old brother Jeffrey. Alicia said, he was a great provider, but he got caught up in wrong things. Sometimes people lose their way. The case remains officially open, say the FBI, which has now made a fresh appeal for witnesses. Nolan and his lawyer have previously denied any involvement in the death of Cohen. Alicia said, the investigation is moving in the right direction. It is definitely moving forward. She is determined to get justice. He was murdered. What kid would not fight for justice for their dad? Follow Mirror Celebs on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Threads.